Simple as this, ladies and gentlemen. A great take gives you 200 points. A good take gives you 100 points. An okay take gives you 50. And a bad take, you come home empty-handed. You get 0 points. Let's get to our first topic. It revolves around the college football playoff, where the Alabama Crimson Tide got in as the number 4 seed in the playoff. They were preceded by Michigan, Washington, and Texas. Getting in the playoff, Alabama looking to win yet another national title. They will match up with Michigan. But a lot of folks out there are really outraged because of the fact that Florida State, the Florida State Seminoles out of the ACC, unlike Alabama, went undefeated in a Power 5 conference and yet missed the college football playoff in large part due to the injury to starting quarterback Jordan Travis. There's been a lot of debate on my show, on y'all's shows, I'm sure, and across the board on other shows around the country about whether or not the playoff committee got this right. So I'll start with you, Ryan. Did the college football playoff committee get this right? Did Alabama deserve to get in over Florida State?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't even bat an eye. I mean, I get it. You know, Florida State, they won their conference. It's the ACC. I don't know what their strength of schedule was, like 50, 55th, I don't know, 60. It's something crazy like that. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, Florida State, you know, those guys, they practiced, they played hard. That's life, man. Who cares? Like, I wish I was 6'5" and a millionaire. It didn't happen, right? But I'm still pretty successful in what I'm doing. So they got to learn from that experience. So, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, college football is a business. I don't care what people say. I know it's nostalgia and people, oh my God, you know, it's about the athlete. Look, the college football playoff is about money. And the 4 teams that are in there, Michigan, Texas, just those 2 teams alone, the revenue from their fan bases that's going to generate. Come on, man. You can't outmatch that. And I get it, Florida State, you know, undefeated, but a lot of it too is if their quarterback was healthy, I would say, yeah, they probably deserve to be in there, right? But if you're struggling with Louisville to get first downs in the first half, what's going to happen when you're on your 3rd string quarterback and you're playing Michigan or Alabama, whoever, right? Really, the question is, it's not even about Florida State. Georgia really is the ones that got shafted the most out of all of this because they go the whole year number 1. They're the 2-time defending champs, undefeated, and you finish what, 5th or 6th or something like that? Like that's outrageous to me. And I think more so people are more up in arms about Florida State. Like, who cares about Florida State? Like, I really don't care about Florida State at this point. So yes, absolutely, they got it right. These are the 4 best teams in the country, with the exception of Georgia being left out. But I think for the most part, they got it right.
Yeah, and that's something you bring up, Georgia. That's a very interesting point. People talk about it being unprecedented to leave a Power 5 champion out. It's also unprecedented for a team to go you mentioned it, all through the season, number 1, and then the last week of the season, they dropped 5 spots after losing by a field goal to a great Alabama team. So you make some fair points across the board. And Ryan Flowers, I will give you, sir, a great take on your first ever segment on the 8 o'clock spot. So congratulations, sir. Great take across the board. And that's something you mentioned, the thing about Louisville, and that's a point that I heard Heather Dinich made on ESPN today, was the fact that when you're struggling to get back-to-back first downs on drives, you know, the playoff committee takes that into account. And obviously you mentioned the injury to Jordan Travis. I'll move to Mike Guido. Mike, I know you're a big college football fan. We were on the Grid Network's Instagram talking about this. Did the playoff committee get this right, having Alabama in over Florida State?
So I listen, and you and I have talked about this at length, Bryce, and I think there's multiple ways that you could look at this. The first way is listen, I told you, as a fan, I like the fact that they left Florida State out because you and I were both in agreement. Whoever they would have gotten matched up with in the playoff, whether it would have been Michigan or Washington, they would have been a multi-double-digit underdog in that game. They're not among the top teams in the country without Jordan Travis. However, I kind of fall in line with the thinking of where I don't know that you could penalize Florida State for something that was completely out of their control, right? I mean, listen, I don't know that any other reason is valid for anybody trying to explain why Florida State didn't get into the playoff other than the fact that Jordan Travis got hurt. If Jordan Travis doesn't get hurt, they beat Louisville by 30 in the ACC championship game or something like that, they are without a doubt a shoo-in in the playoff. So listen, this is kind of the way that I thought about this. I think that Georgia not being in the playoff made sense just because they lost to Alabama. I don't think they were going to leave the SEC champion out of the playoff. I also think that the decision that the committee made as far as putting Texas in, Texas got in as soon as Alabama won the game. So that's kind of where I fall in this. So listen, as a college football fan, I like the fact that Florida State didn't get in, but no, I'm not certain that it really made sense to me. Plus, keep this in mind too. Logically speaking, if they thought that low of Florida State, and I know that it's not a playoff ranking, but why would they have Georgia behind Florida State in the overall ranking? That to me didn't make sense. So no, I kind of disagree with Ryan in a little bit, in some sense. Where listen, Florida State I think should have gotten in as an undefeated ACC champ.
Well, you make some fair points. And the thing about the backup quarterback situation, I use this example on my show, carving it up yesterday, is the fact that, people talk about, that you get screwed over because of something that was out of your control, but it is in your control how you play after that. I mean, Ohio State had Cardale Jones, their third stringer, in and beat Wisconsin 59-0, got in as the 4th seed, and obviously went on to win the national championship. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott had a lot to do with that himself, and that great Buckeyes defense led by Bosa, but still, in the same breath, how you win does matter. And I think that's always something we've known as a general rule in college football. But I think great take across the board, Mike Guido. I'll give you the full 200 points. A great take here. So you're tied here with Ryan Flowers. So we'll shift now to Barry Grant Jr. Barry, did the College Football Playoff Committee get it right by putting Florida State in behind Alabama?
I'm not even going to talk about if they got it right. I mean, here's the thing about this selection committee, whether it be college basketball or this playoff in college football, somebody's going to be upset. And this is just Florida State's turn to be upset. Somebody next year is going to be upset if they think that they're getting in. There's always an Alabama tax to pay. So if you lose to Bama, you end up, dropping 1,000 spots. If you beat Bama, you end up raising 1,000 spots. It doesn't matter what year it is. It just seems to always happen. I agree with Ryan in regards to the whole Georgia thing. They lose one game to Bama, and now they're out. Like, it doesn't matter how they weren't as impressive as the last 2 seasons, that they were a dominant team, but they're still number one. They're still number one for a reason. And for you to be able to get kicked out of number one that quickly in the SEC championship and get booted out of the playoffs, that to me is the biggest farce, more than Florida State is. So somebody's going to be upset. Somebody's going to be mad. It's always like that. It's always going to be a talk and a conversation every year about somebody getting in or not. It is what it is. That's just the nature of the beast. So my biggest thing is the Alabama tax. I don't like it.
That's interesting too. Here's the only issue though, Barry. You didn't really answer the question. So I'll have to give you. I'm going to have to give you 50.
That's all right.
50.
That's fine. But
it puts me in the point lead for the time being, doesn't it, Bryson?
It actually does. Yes, Mike Guido currently. But listen, don't celebrate yet. The show is not over. We don't do the leaderboards until the show is over. So Mike Guido, I guess, technically currently he's in first place. But Barry Grant Jr., okay take. I do agree with you, though, in the sense that, yes, somebody's going to be ticked off. In this case, it is Florida State.
So I did answer the question.
What?
I did answer the question. I said somebody's going to get pissed off. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, it's got to matter. It's got to kind of matter who gets in.
It don't matter. Somebody's going to be pissed off. It is what it is. Eat crow and move on.
Fang McFrost says Barry gets a big 0. He's in the comments. He wants to get a goose egg there.